Hey guys, it's Max. Welcome back to a blustery, or not welcome back. Welcome to a blustery Austin, Texas. I understand it's going to get a lot more blustery here in a few days. Okay, so what I did here, we're going to look at the 60-20-20 portfolio as far as stocks, bonds, and then the last 20 is going to be some type of high yield investment. Okay, we might look at JP Morgan, we might put Defiance in there, but it's going to be 60-20 and then 20 in the high yield or semi-high yield. All right, so we built three portfolios. Let's look at it. Portfolio one, 60% stocks, which is Qs, 20% Defiance, triple QY, and 20% bonds, BND. Okay, this goes from last November. This is actually a 13-month study. It goes from last November to right now. I probably should have just done 12 months, but in any event, okay, that portfolio was up 31%. Standard deviation was 11. Drawdown was 3.9. Standard deviation really doesn't matter except compared to the other portfolios. A lower standard deviation means it's less volatile. So then portfolio two was 60% stocks, 20% bonds. Of course, 60-20 stocks, bonds, have to have that for growth. 20% QYLD, that's the Global X fund. So this portfolio was up 31.5. It did 0.2% better than the Defiance. Okay. Portfolio three was Qs, bonds, and SPYI. Everybody loves them some SPYI, and I do too. Neos is awesome. It's a great, and sure enough, this one was up 32.3. So this one had more total return than either of the other two. So what does that tell us? Because the only difference was the high yield funds. Well, that tells us Neos is a way better high yield fund. So let me show you high yield fallacy number one. Yeah, Neos is a good fund. So high yield fallacy number one is you look at this and you go, okay, Defiance, Neo. Well, man, Neo's been pulling away lately. Neo has way better return. Man, I just cannot deal with all the erosion that Defiance has. Okay, all right, so that's fine. That's fine. We built a portfolio for you too. So I built a portfolio for the first portfolios for somebody like me that's all right with a little bit of extra erosion, depletion, whatever you want to call it, as long as you have extra yield. But the second two portfolios are for the more cautious person because we have QYLD and then we have SPYI. And sure enough, we would expect that SPYI does a little better because we saw on this other thing that it did a little better. This right here. Okay, so the fallacy is, though, when you go to allocate, the dividend channel app isn't an allocator. So look what happens when you go to allocate. Okay, here's your starting balance and your ending balance. To start with $1 million a year ago, you have $1.3 million, $1.34 million, $1.35 million on any of them. If you would have just done the spiders by themselves and not got any high yield or not got any bonds, you would have even done better. The bonds were a drag on the performance. But in any event, here's the CAGR. The sample portfolios, it's the Defiance portfolio. These other ones have a little better return. Okay. Okay, so keep going down here. Oh, and also dividends not reinvested. I turned off. You can select dividends reinvested or not reinvested. I'm not trying to reinvest dividends and say that makes Defiance better. No, that's not. I never reinvest dividends. Dividends taken in cash. Okay, so here's the annual returns. So dark blue is Defiance. So in 2023, because it actually started in November, Defiance actually did good from November and December. That one was almost up there with SPY. But anyway, for the next year, SPY took over. But sure enough, the portfolios 2 and 3 with the less risky high yield stocks did have better return. You made a little better CAGR. Okay, so here's the problem though. Okay, I wonder if you're trying to feed your family. Between November, December last year, the Defiance plan made 32,000. These other made 7,000. But then for the whole rest of the next year, Defiance was 148,000 on $1 million portfolio. You could afford to feed a family on that, I would think. Whereas, you know, on only 37,000 on the more conservative ones. So yes, those more conservative ones are good if you don't need income. Well, that's why, how come that's the first thing I always say? This kind of proves it. If you need the extra income, that's great. Okay, but at the same time, if you do need the extra income, here's the total return for the whole time. The top one's just SPYI by itself, but the bottom three, everything else is right together. So total return, it's all right together. But you did get slightly better total return going with the lower paying, going with portfolio 2 or portfolio 3, you got slightly better total return. But if you're trying to feed your family, you know, how much do you think you cared about the little bit of extra depletion? It may look like a lot of depletion in this thing. You're like, I'm not going to buy it. You know, I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to buy that. But when it comes to trying to feed a family on it, and you're looking at getting paid 148 over a year. Yeah, and if you don't need that much, you reinvest some of it, whatever. But as opposed to 37, and 37 may not cut it. Now, if you have a $10 million portfolio, yeah, you could use QYLD and you'd be making 370 a year, 30,000 a month. That's fine. But at the lower levels, like $500,000 and even $1 million, you know, you're going to starve to death. Not really, but I mean, it's going to be really, really tough. So let's do this. But it is true. But if you want the extra yield and the extra money, it is going to be extra risk, no doubt. It costs you a little total return, and that's exactly what you expect. Let me show you kind of a compromise, or let me show you another way to look at it. Or let me explain this. This is why the Defiance funds are still better, no matter how you slice it. Even if you don't need the money, the Defiance funds are better. Because watch this. Let's switch on portfolio 1. We're just going to make the dollars and cents equal. We're going to lower our allocation of the Defiance funds because they're super risky, right? We'll lower them from 20% down to 4%. That's going to leave us an extra 16% to put in, you guessed it, equities. We're still going to have the same income that you guys are having over there with your safe funds. See, we're up 34. You're up 31 or 32. If you have SPYI, you're up 32. You have 31. If you have QYLD, I'm up 34 and a half. So let's go look at the income. That's the total return. SPYI still beat us, still beat the diversified portfolios. But yeah, income, like I say, if you only need 37, 38, if you only need 3,000 a month, I would still get Defiance and lower my amount of it and then get extra Qs. I mean, right? That's what I would do. That's what Defiance is so good about. Yeah, don't use these at all unless you need income. But the second thing I say is only use as much of these for the income that you need. If 36,000 a year meets your goals, I mean, you have 2 plans. You can use the steady ones like SPYI, and I love SPYI. There's nothing wrong with SPYI. There's nothing wrong with QYLD. But I'd rather have a little bit more equity. I just use a little bit less of these. Yeah, these have more depletion and decay and erosion and whatever. But they also have more income. So guess what? You just use a little bit less. It's the same difference, or it's not even the same difference. I think this makes a strong case for Defiance. You know, you hear people lots of times that don't like Defiance, and Defiance are on the riskier side, and I get that, but I'm saying I think this video right here makes a decent case for Defiance.